Welcome back to my channel. I'm Janiyah Wheeler and thank you for all tuning in. That sounds so wrong. I don't know if I said that right. Well, I've been on YouTube, off of YouTube for like 2 weeks, so sorry if my wording is not the best. Let's just talk about why I've been gone for 2 weeks. One being, I had severe YouTubers block. You know how writers have writer's block? Well, I had YouTubers block. I just did not know what to post, what you guys wanted to see, and I don't have a community board as yet, so I really couldn't get personal and connect with you all. So we're playing this by ear. We're doing this by faith, and hopefully what I post you guys enjoy and you're interested in it. Just let me know and give me some feedback if you're enjoying this content or if you need some new content. The second reason why I've been gone is because I've also been planning and brainstorming and deep diving for new ideas for 2021, and I'm so excited because I have some great things in store for 2021. I'm just so excited to share it with you all. So stay tuned to see and hear about some of those events that will be taking place in 2020. Not literal events, because I don't think we're going to be able to go out because of COVID, but you know what I mean, like new ideas and new opportunities that I'll be sharing with you all. So stay tuned for that. Without further ado, let's just get into this video. And as you can see by the title, today we're going to be talking about mistakes that baby Christians make. And when I say baby Christians, I don't mean to offend anyone because I'm a baby Christian, and I'm not saying it as like a ranking, like you have the babies and then you have the higher ups, but you also have people who've been in Christianity a lot longer than me and myself and you. So I'm just speaking from that point of view as like I'm a baby Christian compared to a lot of other people around me. These are actually things that I've been doing that I didn't know that could have been hindering me and still could be hindering me from my faith walk and my Christian journey and my spiritual journey. So I'm just sharing it with you all so you guys can become more aware of the things that you may be doing right now as we speak, but you did not know that they were mistakes and that they can potentially be hindering you. I will explain a little bit about why I'm touching on the Christian subject a little deeper, because I usually make references in my videos, but this video is like slowly like a Christian video, and I'm not saying only Christians can watch. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this is, you know, a whole video on Christianity. So hopefully you all enjoy this content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's just talk about the mistakes that we often make as baby Christians or Christians in general. Before I get into the details and all of that, I'm going to just do like a little brief synopsis of my Christian journey. Not really, but this is like really brief. I can tell you guys about a whole transformation in a separate video, but this one I just want to say that I always knew about God growing up. I went to private school. We talked about God. We had Bible study, but I really didn't know him personally for myself and didn't really get to have that deep connection with him up until last year, 2019. Yeah, 2019, last year in July. But even so, I wasn't really living the Christian life. I was still doing what I wanted to do. So it wasn't up until January 2020 I fully surrendered my heart, my body, my soul to God. So this year is actually when I started to take Christianity and my faith walk and my Christian walk more seriously than ever. It hasn't been the easiest journey of my life, but it's also been one of the best journeys of my life. That's just a sentence of itself. So to get into this video, my cousin actually gave me the idea to talk about Christianity on my channel, because sometimes in my videos I mention a little bit about myself and a little bit about Christianity, but I don't really talk about like on a full video. So I think that on this channel I'm also going to create some type of, I won't say playlist, but some type of videos where I just talk about Christianity and my walk, things that many of us can relate to, especially being young. I feel like we don't have a lot of young people speaking on Christianity. It's actually changing. I'm gonna say that it's changing now, but especially like years ago it was more like the older people and the older giants and stuff like that, which is cool. But I would love also to hear and talk about Christianity with people more of my age and my generation. No offense to anyone out there, but you know what I mean, just to be relatable so we can all chit chat together, because some things that we may be struggling with, they may not be struggling with. So I'm going to try to make this as relatable as possible, and hopefully you guys enjoy the series and hopefully you enjoyed this video. And without further ado, let's get into the mistakes that baby Christians often make. Mistake number one is we often beat ourselves up about this Christian walk. I know I do this a lot. I do this so often, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up about it, especially when we're trying to get rid of old habits and and getting into the spiritual walk, we all know that you can either make or break a habit within 21 days. So if you're freshly getting into this walk, your old habits are still behind you. Your old habits are ready to creep up on you. You may not fully rid those habits when walking into Christianity, and you have to be patient with yourself and realize like, hey, I'm new to Christianity. I know that these habits won't go overnight, but I know that God is with me and he'll take these old habits away. You know, even when getting into Christianity, we're taught that you will become a new creature, and you also have to remember that like your old things have been passed away, but you have to believe that also, not just say it, but believe it. And it's going to take time. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with God. You have to be patient with the process, because I know for me personally, I'm just trying to think of an old habit that I used to do and that was still lingering in me with my Christian walk, and I just had to say no, enough is enough. And you'll have to step into sometimes and set those boundaries, because it's kind of like you can be praying for something but still doing the old thing, but you have to get to a point where you don't want to do that also. You don't have the desire to do that. And I know for me personally, I don't even have desires to do things that I used to do. Eventually it'll just die down. You'll just get destroyed. You'll be like, I didn't even have the desire to do that anymore, or I don't even have the desire to listen to this kind of music. It just depends on who you are and what your bad habits are. So yes, just trust the process and make sure you're doing things to help the process. Also, be patient and don't beat yourself up about falling back or falling short on old and bad habits, because through time you'll just realize that it goes away. Mistake number 2 that baby Christians often make is comparing yourself to someone else's spiritual walk. Now I know for all these things I've done and I'm still doing, so I'm not going to sit here like I don't do it. So I'm going to use myself as an example so I can be more relatable to you all. So for me personally, I remember starting the Christian walk and starting this journey. My cousins and I actually started at the same time. 3 months in, one of my cousins were like, oh my gosh, I heard God's voice and he told me. And to me, I was excited for her, but for myself, I was discouraged, because I was like, well, we started this spiritual journey together. How come you can hear God's voice and I can't? And then through time, I realized that God does not speak to you the same way he may speak to other people. So God speaks through different ways, and her way may have been that still voice, and my way may have been a dream. So just because you're not hearing that, or you're not hearing that still voice that everyone talks about, does not mean that God is not talking to you. I had to come to a realization that comparing myself to someone else's spiritual walk leads to frustration, which then leads to doubt. And it's like, you can't have faith and doubt in the same boat. You have to have one or the other. So as I was living in the doubt, I wasn't having faith in God that I'm hearing his voice. So you have to be very cognizant of that as well, that God may not speak to you the same way he may speak to other people. So comparing yourself is just not gonna help at all. It's not gonna do anything for you. Mistake number 3 that baby Christians often make is getting stressed out or frustrated about your calling and assignment. So this one I actually stumble upon almost every single week, especially when people ask me, what do you want to do in life? What is your assignment? What do you think your calling is? It gets me frustrated, because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, but I genuinely don't know. And it gets really discouraging also to hear other people when you ask someone else that question and they can give you a whole like paragraph on what their calling is, what their assignment is, what God called them to be. And it's great for them, but for me, I'm just like, well, that's great. I want to know that too. You have to be very careful about that, because you can become overly obsessed with trying to figure out your calling and assignment to the point where you begin to force things and force careers and force things like that. So let me just explain that a little further. So for a prophecy, for me personally, if I got in prophecies, I would try to purposely and forcefully align my prophecy with my current life. So hypothetically speaking, say I got a prophecy about me becoming a farmer. Nothing wrong with being a farmer at all. So in my everyday life, I'm going to try to do things that I really don't have no desire to do at the moment, but because I got the prophecy that one day I'll become a farmer, I'll begin to force things to happen. I'll begin to go outside and start trying to buy cows and buy land. And maybe that is okay, but I feel like in a sense, you should also just let things go with the flow, and through time it'll happen. Because if I'm going out and buying these things, I may not even know that while I'm trying to buy things, God is trying to send me people to just give these things to me. God is sending people my way to give me free lands or cheap lands and cheap animals and things like that. But I'm going out of my way and spending a lot of money because I heard that one day I'll become a farmer. And then when I start to do that, I'm then trying to be God instead of letting God do his thing. So that is when you have to become very, very careful about trying to figure out your calling and your assignment, to the point where you become overly obsessed and then you become forced forceful, and then you become like you're trying to be God. So just let things happen naturally and let things fall into place. Mistake number 4 that we often make as baby Christians is turning away when it takes too long. This kind of goes back to number 1, where you just really have to be patient, because God's timing is the best timing. For me personally, I know that if I'm praying for an answer, or I'm praying for a sign, or I'm praying for something or a situation to change or whatever it may be, if it's taking too long, I might just start doing things on my own and not relying on God to do it for me. And I find that so fascinating to think about, that in the natural, everything may be so messy, so sticky, not knowing that there's things happening behind the scenes. I find that so interesting to think that right now, as I'm speaking, there's things that God is doing behind the scenes that I don't even know about, that will eventually come to pass. So just be patient. Don't give up on God, even when it takes a long time, because I guarantee you it will be worth the wait, because God may be trying to work some things in you, whether that may be your attitude or certain things that is not godly. He may try to work some things in you before you can get the thing that you've been asking for. You hear that rain? Or whatever. Trust the process, be patient, and trust God's timing, because his timing is the best. Mistake number 5 is relying on other people's prayers and not your own. I would literally ask everyone to pray for me, but don't pray for myself. There had to be a point where I had to realize, like, my prayers are as powerful as their prayers. My prayers are as strong as their prayers. And yes, I can ask 50 people to pray for me, but if I'm not praying for myself, it has to come from my mouth also. It has to come from within. And it says in the Bible that the power of life and death lies in our tongue. Not just theirs, but also mine. So things start to really change when you open your mouth and talk to God. You open your mouth and pray for God. It's like that song, My Worship, where it says, no one can worship you for me. You have to do things on your own also when it comes to worshiping and praying. Yes, everyone's prayers is great. Yes, everyone's worship is great. It has to get to a point where you have to do these things on your own as well. It's okay to ask people for prayers and intercede for you, but you also have to pray for yourself. To wrap this video up, the last thing that baby Christians often do that is actually a mistake is questioning God. And to this one, I actually had a mini debate with a few people about it, because in the Bible it says, ask and it shall be given unto you. If you question someone, you're asking them something. I think it becomes a little bit different when you say, God, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to be? That's different. Then there's a point where you're questioning God, as in, God, why did this happen to me? Why did you allow this to take place? Why did you allow that person to hurt me? I feel like in a sense that's when you're questioning God. As far as, God, where do you want me to go with my career? I feel like those are completely different, even though technically they're still questions. I feel like asking it in the sense of, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? Or why did you allow that person to hurt me? I feel like you're questioning God's steps and you're questioning God's reasoning. God does not have to explain himself to you. But I feel like as far as, God, where do you want me to go in my career? You're genuinely just asking for guidance and direction. I feel like those things are completely two different things, but you have to also be careful, because me personally, I'm a very analytical person. I like to know who did it, why they do it, where did they do it. I like to get all the facts, because that's the lawyer in me. I have to be very careful, because I find myself trying to question God. That's me too when it comes to faith, and I try to step out on faith. It's more like, okay, faith. And then I start to calculate things like, well, how can I make this happen? Where am I going to get this from? What am I going to be doing with it? And it's just like, you're not living in faith if you have to calculate everything, Janiyah. Just step out in faith. So for me personally, it can get a little tough, because I get curious, I overanalyze. It's just a lot for me. So that's something that I'm still working on to this day, because if God right now tells me to go do something, I'm gonna have to sit down and have a conversation with God before I do it. And that's not how it should be. It should be, if God tells you to do something, you're just supposed to get up and do it, no question. I know a lot of people also told me that that's something that they're trying to work on too, is just obeying God and stop questioning God. If a situation happened, just continue to praise him. If it's not what you thought it was, continue to praise him, because he knows what he's doing at the end of the day. That is all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you can relate to some of the mistakes that we've been making along the spiritual walk, and if you have been aware of it, hopefully we can change it together. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more content like this, and see you all in my next video. Bye.